listening to The Steve Cochran Show on the Big 89 WLS.
How do the people who make Vaseline make any money? I have had the same tub of Vaseline. Right? Right? The guy with the glasses, am I right? My Vaseline was handed down to me by my grandfather in a will. You've never heard this phrase uttered in the history of mankind. Honey, I'm going out to get more Vaseline. One time I almost threw my Vaseline out. I'm like, I don't recognize these fingerprints. Wow. I think my wife is cheating on me.
Oh, my gosh. Love it. 807. Rob Johnson in for Steve Cochran. Obviously, we're going to lighten things up a little bit right now.
Yeah, I love it. That's Emmy Award-winning comedian Paul Mecurio, who's bringing his award-nominated Broadway show, Permission to Speak, to the North Shore Center for the Performing Arts in Skokie on November 8th. We're going to get to that in a second, but first, let's get to my friend Paul Mecurio. Hey, Paul, thanks for getting up with us.
Hey, guys. How are you? It's great to be on with you. Thanks for having me. And, I'm just checking my Vaseline. Not to get me through
Any weird fingerprints in there today?
Every line about that in that bit was like, oh yeah, like yeah, exactly.
I got to be honest with you. Some bits it takes a long time to write. That one literally got written in 20 minutes. I was in a cab going across town to Manhattan. I started thinking about Vaseline. I'm like, man, I have it. And then I just set it on stage to risk on it, and it just hit, and it was crazy. Yeah, I got lucky on that one.
Seriously, I think I have Vaseline from the 80s. It was like college. We're going to put it on our lips. Paul, listen, you are a comedian, and you're very successful, and you tour the world, and you do all these great things, and you work on The Late Show. But by the way, you have a law degree from Georgetown. You're working on law on Wall Street. You have this big, huge career, and you gave it all up to be a comedian?
Yes, you sound exactly like my mother right now.
Yes.
You want me to take the garbage out now, too? I thought I was calling to have some fun here.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was doing corporate M&A deals as a lawyer in New York, and I had no plans to be a comedian. Wrote some jokes. I don't know why. I was writing jokes, and I had a whole bunch of jokes amassed, and I went to a private function, and Jay Leno was there, and I said, I don't know if you need jokes, but I'm never gonna use these. Can you, you can have them? And he was like, okay.
That's very funny.
He really does talk like that, letting helium out of a balloon very slowly. And then a couple of days later, my phone rings, and I get on the other end. It's Jay Leno. It's Paul there. And I'm like, there's no way Jay Leno is calling me. So I thought it was my friend pulling a prank. And I go, yeah, really funny, David. He goes, no, it's really Jay Leno. And I'm like, David, I'm really busy. I don't have time. No, it's Jay Leno. And I actually said to Jay Leno, you do a lousy Jay Leno.
And that's when it all broke. But I read somewhere, I saw you talking about this. When you were in these big high-profile meetings on Wall Street, you would have two notebooks, one to take notes from the meeting, and then one to write jokes. Did you ever pay attention in a meeting ever?
No, it's a great question because I became obsessed because he started using my jokes. He did them on the Tonight Show. It was amazing. So I'm writing, and I'd be in a meeting, and these are complicated big merger deals where you really had to pay attention. And I was just observing and making notes in my joke notebook. And then I'd go back, and my job was to recreate the minutes of the meeting. And I'd literally open my deal notebook, and it was empty. It was completely empty, right? So I'm like, now I'm walking around the firm going, remember the meeting? What happened when he said it? And the guy's like, you were in the meeting. Why are you asking me?
You know what I love? I love the fact that you had a notebook to write down all the funny and hilarious things that happen at corporate MA meetings. It's like that was fertile ground for you. God bless you.
Oh my God, the egos are huge. I mean, it's funny you should mention that because people always say, were you funny at the law firm? And I'm like, yeah, I would say really funny things to get laughs from the other lawyers, stuff like, we can't do that. That's unethical. And they would laugh and laugh and laugh.
Kind of gallows humor.
And they were like, I was always the funniest lawyer in my law firm. That was the thing. And people go to me, oh, okay. And that's not saying much. That's right. Like saying you're the sexiest IT guy.
Yeah, the bar was pretty low on that one.
You're right. You don't really mean sexy IT guys. And no diss to any sexy IT guys out there. So the other option was to go into the family business, which you did not do. But your mother recently retired from the family biz.
Yeah, she's 95, and she will not go down. We try everything. Sour cheese, bad milk. She's amazing. And no, she She started a business 63 years ago, and like not a single mom, but a young mom in a tenement house. And she's retired, and because it's just time, we had to close 95, and she's mad. She doesn't want to be retired. She actually wants to try to open the store somewhere else. And we're like, Ma, you're retired. She goes, well, I don't want to be retired. Like, Ma, you're retired. You can do things. You go. We'll take you to the senior center. She goes, I'm not going there. Those people are old. I'm like, you're old. You're 95. What do you think? You're going to go skydiving with Taylor Swift? What do you? You're old, right? And she grew up in the Depression, and she won't buy anything. And so, like, everything's always like, like she like, and she goes through garbage. Like she's anybody listening knows somebody like this. They pick through garbage that's left out on the sidewalk on like a Sunday night for garbage. Not food, like stuff that's broken that needs to be fixed. Like she found her hearing aid in the garbage because she doesn't want to spend money on a hearing aid. And it whistles all the time. It's like,
oh, my God.
You think this is funny? It's like talking to a tea kettle in a house dress, okay? It is not good on any level.
Well, now your mom can just spend more time with you at your shows. But I got to ask you this. You're Italian. So, like, does the Italian family influence your comedy? Or you just use your mom as a bit of comedy there?
Well, no, the Italian family thing is totally like, so when people hear you're Italian, one of the things they think of is plastic on the furniture. Like, that's what they think about. It's like a very ethnic thing. Like it's, you don't have a lot of money and you have that, the house is really neat and there's that really expensive furniture that you're not allowed to really sit on and it's kept in that room with plastic on it, and you only go in that room twice a year, Christmas and Easter, right? And in that same room, there's a picture of the Pope, Jesus, and Frank Sinatra. And the Frank Sinatra
in that order, right?
3 times, yeah, in that order. But the Frank Sinatra picture is like 3 times the size of the Pope in the Jesus picture, okay? and so, but that stereotype of like the super neat didn't apply to us because we were always focused on my mother's business. So the house was an absolute mess. This is a true story. Someone broke into the house. They literally just grabbed the first thing they saw by the door, and they ran out like a stereo. They were in like literally maybe 2 minutes. Okay, they didn't touch anything else in the house. A cop comes over to take a police report, stands in the middle of the living room, surveys the living room, and he goes, oh, my God. This animal really ransacked the place.
And you're like, no, it was these animals that live there.
Exactly. I'm like, yeah, he left salami out all day. Yeah. He was crazy. like, yeah. So the whole thing is just like there's a lot of fodder in the family stuff, And my cousin Bobby, he likes to. He's like John Travolta in Saturday Night Fever. That's how he dresses: tight white pants, big coif of hair, and always standing on the street corner with his legs going like, "Hey, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing?" Like he's got a live snake in his pants, like one of these guys. And at one point, so it's just always something with and then you incorporate it into your act,
Yeah, absolutely. And you work with Stephen Colbert. You work on the Late Show. So what's it like working with Stephen?
Oh, he's so needy. Oh, please help me. Where do I go? Do I have to stop drinking today? Yes, Stephen, we have a show to do. No, it's great. He and I go back to the Daily Show together. We were on that show. I was one of the original writers and performers on that show. And then worked on the Colbert Report with him, and now this, and it's great. It's like taking a final every day, like kind of because every day you're just writing those jokes for that day, and there never is enough time, and like you always want to get more in, and you always want to make them funnier. And we write all day. The show, everybody works on it all day, and then at 5:30 we tape it, and it airs at 11:30. So it's great, and so a lot of times, Stephen will come in and, he'll just want to like, gamble. He's got a big gambling problem.
Boy.
Not a lot of people know that.
I'm just trying to work and he wants to gamble.
Exactly.
Hey, Paul.
Can we go to the track? No, you can't do the track.
You can't do that right now. Hey, I know you're going to stick around with us for another segment. We appreciate that. We need to take a quick break here, so hang out with us. We'll hit you on the other side of this break. Welcome back to the program, 8:20 on this Wednesday morning. Rob Johnson in for Steve Cochran, and we are rejoined by Paul Mecurio, who is the Emmy and Peabody Award-winning writer and comedian from the Late Show with Stephen Colbert. And he's coming to town next month for a couple of shows. We want to tell you a little bit about that. But, Paul, it's great to have you on, and thanks for joining us on the Big 89 today.
Oh, I'm having a great time. Thanks for having me. You guys are great, by the way. This is really, you should do this for a living. I'm serious. This is a
What
good,
an idea.
You guys know what you're doing.
Maybe when you're in town, you could come over and jump on the air with us in the studio.
That would be great. I would love to do that. I'll bring some coffee. I'll bring some bagels from New York. How about that?
That would be amazing because New York has the best bagels, as we know. Well, I don't know.
I'm Italian. I'll make you some cannoli. I'll bring you some cannoli.
You need to eat.
Paul,
Gotta eat.
I want to reiterate, the show is Saturday, November 18th at the North Shore Center for that's easy for me to say, North Shore Center for Performing Arts in Skokie. We love that place, but the show is called Permission to Speak, and it really is unlike any comedy show I've ever seen. So set it up. Tell us what the show is all about, because it is funny, but it's interesting.
Yeah, it's born out of my stand-up. And basically, I love to talk to the audiences. And going around the country and Canada, I get these amazing stories. And some Broadway producers saw me doing this, and they're like, how did you plant those people in the audience? I'm like, no. They go, well, how do the conversations work out? I go, I don't know. I think everybody's got a story. You just got to talk to them and know that you're going to just not be mean or whatever, and they'll tell you stories. And so that's how the show was born. And it's a theater show directed by Frank Oz, the great Frank Oz, who was Yoda and created the Muppets with Jim Henson and directed Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. Yeah, and he's worked with Marlon Brando, Robert De Niro, Steve Martin, and me. So you tell me what's wrong with that.
You're in good company, man. You're in good company.
Lucky.
Yeah, and so I bring people on stage and from the audience, and they tell stories. And the premise is, if we're nameless and faceless to each other, we're disconnected, divisive at times. It's not a political show, but if we share stories, we connect, realize we have more in common than we think, and maybe we are not so nameless and faceless. And so the stories have been absolutely amazing. You cannot write them literally. For example, a gentleman named Travis, young guy in his 30s, has polio. And I think we have a clip of this. In this clip, he's explaining to us how he explained to his 6-year-old daughter how Daddy had polio and what it was.
Travis, how are you? What do we got here? What's the issue?
Polio.
Oh, yeah?
When kids were younger, I would go to the school plays. Obviously, kids would be like, hey, is that your dad? Is he RoboCop? Blah, blah, blah. I would tell the kids, hey, I'm from Vietnam. That's how I got hurt. They were like, really? You were in Vietnam? And I was like, yeah. And it was a joke. But my daughter's 18 now. And a few months ago, she was like, Daddy, were you really in Vietnam? I was like, oh, I forgot I told that. I told everybody that you were like 6. I never fixed it.
Oh, that's so funny. You know what I like about that? And you just referenced it a second ago, Paul, about people have a story to tell. You just can't be mean, because not all comedians are that way. It's like, if you go to the audience and you speak up, you might get roasted by the funnier person with the microphone. And you're really kind of doing a 180 from that, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, that's too easy. Look, if somebody's heckling you, then you can go after them.
Of course.
But I mean, this is really just about peeling back an onion, right? And the instinct as a comedian is I need to get a laugh every minute. But if I'm not listening, I mean, you guys are really good at what you do because you listen and react, right? So if you're talking to somebody, but I'm talking to them, but they're wearing, I don't know, a red shirt, and I got a joke in my head about a red shirt that I always do, and I'm focused on when I'm going to deliver my red shirt joke. You just said something amazing, like, oh, yeah, 2 days ago I saved 6 babies from a well, and that went right by me, right? And that's where the problem comes in. So if I don't make it about me and make it about them, it's just incredible the kind of stories you get, and they just keep giving you these stories, and then they talk to each other. They connect after the show. They come up to each other after the show, and I had a woman that was her name was Nydia. I said, Lydia? She goes, no, my name's Nydia. I go, well, how'd you get that name? That's all I said to her is, how'd you get that name? She goes, well, my father, got my mother pregnant with me. He was having an affair, and he named me after the woman he was having an affair with. And everybody's like, what?
Whoa.
What?
Wow, heavy.
Yeah.
Do people?
And that was my father. No, I'm kidding. No, but the stories are literally, I know it's cliche, jaw-dropping, but they're real, and that's the cool thing about it. And I think when people hear other people's stories, they go, oh, my life is just as crazy and as his, and that's cool. Let's go talk to him and chat after the show. And it's been really cool experience.
I love the idea that you're connecting and you're building a community with all of these people and all the markets that you're doing shows in. Are people ever reluctant, like they don't want to tell you the full story?
No, it's the opposite. Like, it's fun. It's funny. It just happened the other night because I also do this at the Late Show. Like, somebody goes, I don't really want to say, and then the person wouldn't stop talking. Like, it was like 10 minutes. Like, you can't get them off, because I think one of the things I say at the opening monologue of the show is some people want to tell their stories, and some people need to tell their stories, and so I had a woman that I said, how'd you meet your husband? We met, and then quickly thereafter get married. Oh, well, why so quickly? Well, he got diagnosed with, some leukemia. He's fine though, and now, but he was in the hospital. And I said, that's it. We're going to get married. And she goes, so I went out while he was upstairs getting treatment. I went and got a wedding gown. Then I ended up, and now she's going and going and going and going and going. It ends up being a 20-minute story. End of story. There was a fire in the MRI room. She got her gown. She ran upstairs. She refused to evacuate the hospital. She married the guy. Now, the guy the whole time on stage was not funny, didn't say one thing. And then at the end, he tagged the whole thing with, oh, by the way, I was wearing the gown. And
You know what's terrific about this? Because it really is different from a comedic standpoint, because what you're doing is employing, like good interviewing skills. Like when you were talking about listening, like thinking about the red shirt joke and then missing the fact that they saved a bunch of babies or whatever. And for me, spending years and years in journalism before I started doing this on an occasional basis, you always had to listen. Like you couldn't sit there and have your list of questions, or you're thinking about the next joke you're going to tell, because you might miss some of the secret sauce. And what you've done is create an entire show around the secret sauce.
Yeah, and it wasn't like I sat down and plotted this out. Like, it just sort of happened organically. And you guys know in this business, like you could sit there and say, okay, let's come up with a great recurring, refillable segment that we'll do every morning at 9:10 and blah blah blah. And you don't, and then something's happening in your life, like I don't know, and then you find it. Oh, Vaseline! I could do something about Vaseline every week, whatever, right? So like, it's the whole point is like, when you talk to them, you just can't get ahead of yourself. It's like you got to let the game come to you, and they'll just give you. I had another guy say to me, "What's going on? I'm breaking up. I just broke up with my girlfriend. Why? Well, she got arrested. She was shoplifting at CVS." I go, "Oh, that's pretty bad." He goes, "Yeah." I go, "I told her not to." I go, "Yeah, you don't want people to shoplift." He goes, "No. I taught her how to shoplift. I just told her not to shoplift at CVS." And everybody went, "What?" I go, "Did you just say you taught her how to shoplift?" He goes, "Oh yeah, I've been shoplifting since I was like 17 years old. That's how I make my money." And she was bugging me because she sees I get all this really great stuff like that I steal. She goes, "Well, I want nice stuff too." I go, "Well, I'm not going to teach you how to shoplift if you're going to shoplift." Now, everybody's jaw is on the floor because he has no self-awareness that there's anything wrong with teaching somebody how to shoplift. He was upset that she did it in the wrong place. Okay?
I told you not to do it at that one place, and you did it. How dare you?
And I know you're probably tight on time. So end of story, he teaches her. She doesn't listen to him. She goes, because his premise was, why are you going to go to CVS and get arrested over lipstick? If you're going to go to Nordstrom's and get arrested over something nice, right? She goes to CVS, gets arrested, calls him up. She's in the squad car. He goes, "I'm not coming down there. You wouldn't listen to me." He finally goes down there. He breaks up with her when she's in the back of the squad car being pulled away by the police.
Unbelievable. Paul, you're the best. I want everyone
so
to go see you when you're here in Chicago. Actually, you're in Skokie. Permission to Speak is the show. It's happening Saturday, November 18th at the North Shore Center for the Performing Arts. How can people find out more about you, and where can we get tickets?
You can go to northshore.org for tickets, and for me, paulmecurio.com. Mecurio, one R, my last name. If you do two, there's an Australian actor who got my name, and I had to change my name, but that's a story for another day. It's extremely annoying. Anyway, paulmecurio.com or at Paul Mecurio is my social media. A whole bunch of stuff there. There's clips to the show there on my website, on my social media. Also can get tickets to North Shore through my website as well, but northshore.org, November 18th. 2 shows, so hope you all can come out, and I'll bring my mother. I'll bring her on stage.
Oh, my God. Bring your mother.
That's awesome.
You're fun. Thanks, Paul.
Paul, thanks so much.
Thank
Paul
you so much,
Mecurio.
guys. You're awesome.
You
Thank
bet.
you so much.
Good luck, and I know the show is going to be terrific.